Okay, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started because no matter how many times Dave and I have practiced this, we have yet to hit it in less than an hour. So we have a ton of things that we want to go through in getting started with ArcGIS Online. Basically, what we're going to do in the presentation is we do have some slides, but very few. Most of it is going to be demonstrations, so we can be really hands-on with you guys and show you. What we wanted to do this morning is literally start from scratch. Start from scratch with a nearly empty organization with no content, no web maps, no sharing, no users, no nothing. And we want to take that the whole way to adding everything that you would do in the next hour. Show you some of the capabilities. Hopefully yesterday in the plenary you saw some of the new stuff. With filtering and tables and analysis and things like that. This is before that. This is how you even get started and how you put things in there in the first place and how an organization would get set up. So I just wanted to touch on, you heard yesterday a lot about the platform. And I wanted to just drill in a little bit on where ArcGIS Online fits in that platform. What does it do across the platform? What's the value that it brings to you when it includes all the other things in the platform? First of all, you need to think of it as secure sharing and collaboration tools. That's part of it, being able to make things available. But it's also about discovery and search. And people in an organization or your customers' organizations, and making it super easy for them to find GIS information in the first place. But the cool part is once they've found it, then they can immediately do something with it. So we'll look at how you can set that up. It's increasingly about analysis, so we've added some new analysis tools in beta with this time. It takes advantage of the cloud, too. So you know the advantages of the cloud. It's scalable, dynamic, changes rapidly with it. Great example of that is with Hurricane Sandy hit in the U.S., within 36 hours, ArcGIS Online increased 3 times in terms of the number of maps and services and things that we were doing during that event because of all the usage on it, and then it came back down afterwards. So it can completely scale. There's lots of ready-to-use content in there too, so we'll touch on content that's available to you. Obviously, you're going to bring your organization's content in, and people will bring in their spreadsheets and things like that. But there's also a tremendous amount of content that's already available to you on ArcGIS Online. You saw some of the new dynamic demographic maps. There's always been base maps. There's lots of imagery there. It continues to expand. So that's there for you to take advantage of. Increasingly, too, check out developers.arcgis.com because that is a new website we just launched just a week ago. And it's going to point you in the right direction to building applications, as this is a platform for building apps, mobile applications, web applications too. Very easy to get started with that. In fact, you can use the templates in there that are there to get started with building apps right away. And then finally, it integrates with business intelligence tools. The easiest way to think of that is the integration with Excel, and I'll do a demonstration with that as well. So with that, we're going to jump right into a demo. Dave's going to set up an organization for you.
Great, thanks, Paul. So how many people are familiar with ArcGIS Online? Great. How many have used the subscription part? Okay, great. All right. So as Paul mentioned, we're going to walk you through what it would look like setting up the organization subscription.
Not plugged in.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right, there we go. Here we come. Okay. So basically, when you come into the subscription, you're going to be an administrator, because you're going to be the one solely responsible for setting up the subscription. I know we've done demos in the past where we've pulled content, from not only from mobile phones or web applications, but how do you set up subscription? So basically, what we did is we already gave the subscription a name for time purposes, but basically, you want to go into edit settings. Now, the great thing about ArcGIS Online is it allows you to skin the site. And what I mean by that is give it a good custom look and feel so when people come here, they can understand this is part of your company. So you have the opportunity to do that. So for this particular one, we gave it a subscription name of Palm Springs 2013, because we're in Palm Springs here. and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a description here. So we're at the Dev Summits for developers, created by developers, okay? And then what I can do is look at the other content here. I want to show this description at the bottom of my page. So when users come to ArcGIS Online, they can see what that means. It just shows that text. Here, we're in the US. English is a primary here, but as you can see, I can choose any language here that's supported, and it will translate that into that language for you. Okay. And then you can choose a region to determine the base map gallery. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just change to world here. All right. And then moving right along, let's go to the home page. Now this is what the users are going to see when they come to the site. There is no background here, so I'm going to go ahead and no background. But what I want to do is I want to add an image, so when users come here, they can understand that this is the site that they're looking at, which is part of our organization. Now for performance reasons, you want to have something that's 960 pixels wide by 180. If you don't have that, what it'll do is it'll suppress it to that format. You have something smaller, you want to have it like around that pixel. That's why it's not pixelated. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pick banner here, hit OK, right? As this is uploading, and also too, just why this is uploading, this thing right here called feature content. This is information that you want to show when people come to the site. So what content, as far as maps, data, services, you want to show right when a user comes to the site. So this is a feature content. And we'll come back to this because what we're going to do is build a gallery to show content and how that shows on a page. So if I go to the gallery here, you can select, do you want most view items shown, or you can choose a particular group on that. And I'll be walking through the steps of doing that. And then here you can select, let's say you have your own default base maps, and you don't want to use Esri. Well, you have the option to change that here. So I scroll down here, the default base maps Esri. Here's another one. Let's say you want to use Bing Maps. You can insert your token that you got from Microsoft in here, and then you can load that Bing Maps control when people create web maps. Another thing is we have a wealth of different templates that contain sample layouts that you could build web applications, and those are all obviously also downloadable. Or you can publish them directly as is, and then we host that for you on ArcGIS Online. So we're going to go ahead and accept the defaults here. Now what we do is we go to item details. I think typically people disable this to allow users to comment or items on that. All right, so we'll just deselect that. Now what I'm just showing you guys is here it's customizable, right? It doesn't come out of the box where your information is already shared, right? You control that, you're in full control of that. So here's the feature groups that I want to show. I can go ahead and let's go ahead and remove, we don't need this one. We don't need this one. So here you can choose what groups will be searchable here. And then here's the gallery applications, if you want to show them or not. So we'll select default. Now here's a good one, utility services. So sometimes you have users who are going to print maps. Well, let's say that's behind a firewall or something. Well, you wouldn't be able to use the Esri default by that. So what you would do is give that URL of your print service from that. And then another one that I really like to touch on is security. Now, like I said, by default, when you create the subscription, your information is not shared. So you're in full control. Do you want to share it with the general population? Do you want to share it only amongst yourselves, within a group or within a company? You have full control. So basically, you can allow SSL only for access to your organization. And you can also allow anonymous access. So when you go to www.arcgis.com, we're allowing anonymous access because you could see the maps. But let's say you have your own site. Well, let's say they found the URL. Well, they'll just get a login dialog. They're not going to be able to see the content. And then by default, the search and sharing is not checked. So basically what this does is it allows members outside the organization to share content. And then you can also allow people to search content outside the organization. And what's great about this, you have full control. So I think there's a misconception that, ArcGIS Online is built only for public consumption. No, you have full control to decide, do you want it for public or for private? And then one thing that we added, I think in the past week, which was Wednesday, I believe, we've had some beta stuff come out on ArcGIS Online. And basically this enterprise logins beta here. So let's say you're deploying to 300 people who have active directories. So do you want to upload and create new user accounts for each user? Well, what we've done is we allow you to use enterprise logins. So this could tie directly into your Active Directory, and the user can use an Active Directory to log in to the subscription, as opposed to you having to create 300 individual ones and have managed 2 different sign-ins. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. All right, and I'm going to go back here, go home. And as here you could see, I have this banner that came up here, and that's our banner for organization. I have my tag here for, for developers, creative developers. I actually typed that wrong. And then, okay, so basically this site's not anything without content, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some content here to the site, congressional district here. And basically we're going to use this because we're going to want to build some demos from here. So I'm gonna go ahead, and here's congressional districts here. I can open this, I can save it. One thing I wanna note, since I allowed search outside the organization, I'm only searching in my internal organization, so what I have to do is untap that search, and then I can search all the content in ArcGIS Online. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this congressional district map. I'm just gonna open it in a web viewer that we have. Okay, I'm gonna save this as, I just want to keep this because I'm going to use this for later demonstrations. I want to give it some relevant tags. So I'm going to put my initials in here because sometimes when you're searching for content, it's great to put your initials. Just give it some tags that are relevant to the map so it's searchable and it's indexed. And most importantly, people can find it. So let me just save that. Okay, here. All right. So one thing I wanted to show was when we invite users. Remember I was talking about that secure logon stuff? Well, there's 2 different options. So there's 3 options actually. You can do pre-established logons where you create the subscription for the user. So what it'll do is it'll take the first initial and last name of the user and append it to the subscription name. So this one is PS 2013. Or what you can do is, another one is you can take a CSV file, okay, and then you can import that to a subscription. So what I've done is I have a CSV file with some, let's see, no, not that one. Let's see. Here, sorry, invites. There we go. Now what I can do is now I can upload and invite users. This more on a mass scale as opposed to me individually inviting them. And here I've already defined permissions in there, a role, a publisher, a user. And then what I could do is I could send invitations here, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to return to my organization here, and I want to create a group. So I'm going to create a group called Featured because what I want this to be is when my users come to my subscription, I want them to see a gallery of all content here. So I'm just a gallery of content here. Okay. There. And then what here is you can choose if you want this group to be outside, searchable or not. But basically, this is only the gallery, so I'm just going to say organizations. Users don't need to apply. It's going to be all members. I'll save here. I got to enter a tag. So let's just put gallery here and featured. Okay. I'm going to save this. Now what I do is if I go back to my subscription here, let's save this. Edit, I'm going to go to home page. Okay, now I want to choose that group featured because I want any information to include on that home page. I'm going to go to gallery, click the feature group. So basically what I'm doing is any content that's saved to this group is going to show up on the gallery. So there. And then what we've done is we've created a gallery because what we're going to do is throughout this presentation is add content to that gallery so it shows up on that front page. Oh, you bet. Which number?
Keep talking about content.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, my fault. Okay, within ArcGIS Online you have content, whether it's your content and whether it's Esri content. So we have base maps. Within that, we also have, I'll try this real quick. So we have Esri content, so you could think of that as, the base maps, the demographic data that Esri adds. We have community content, think of the community base maps. And we also have content that's contributed by you, by you guys. So if you have information that you want to share outside your organization, you can share that content as well. Within that makes up all available content. That gets searched and indexed into the system. So then what you could do is you can create web maps from that content. Another important thing is ArcGIS Online subscription. So without subscription stuff, we got to make it relevant for people to use certain services. So within ArcGIS Online, we have things of a geocoding service, we have network analysis. So let's say you want to take advantage of routing or live traffic dynamic data. These are all services that are part of your subscription. So within the community, what I like to look at ArcGIS Online, so you have maps, you have apps that maybe people share, right, that you create. You have data that's either contributed by yourselves or by the community. And then you also have tools. People are publishing tools, so you can download them, open up in desktop, or just take advantage of those tools as well as in your applications.
Okay, so we're going to switch to another demo. So I want to talk about adding content. So let's go over to the site that Dave created. And so typically, once you've done this quick setup that he did, now the next step in all this is you want to add some content in there. And there's many different types of content that you can add. I'm going to add a couple of different types because, first of all, how many of you have shape files that you use? I mean, everybody's going to put their hands up, right? So let's do that. The first thing is let's just show how you can add a shape file so that we can make a shape file that might be on my desktop available to everybody in the organization. So we're going to turn that shape file into a service as part of my ArcGIS Online subscription. So I just go to my content, and you'll see a number of buttons here. Let's use the add item. And in this add item, I can choose a file from my computer. And you can see the supported ones there if you want to dig into that. But let's choose, let's go out to my desktop, and I have a directory called Palm Springs, and in there I have a shape file. This is a really simple shape file. It's just counties in Indiana, a state in the US. So I'm going to add that. And of course, I want to give it some tags. Sometimes you'll see people doing demonstrations and they just fly through putting the tags in. Take your time to put in tags. It's really important to put ones that are meaningful to people in an organization so that they can find things. If you're just cutting and pasting the name of it into the tag, nobody's going to find it. So I'm going to put in Palm Springs and 2013 and my initials, right? So if you guys want to take a look at this map later, the contents of this file, it knew that it was a shape file, and I'm going to go ahead and add that item to my organization. Now, when I've added that to my organization, did I automatically share it out with everybody that's there? No, I did not. So it's really important to understand the whole sharing model. You can put things in as a user, but then you very deliberately decide how it's shared with groups, with your whole organization, or even outside the organization if you want to. But that's all up to you. It's not like the default is that everybody can see it. So what's happening right now is my shape file, which I purposely picked a small one so it would upload fast, but I guess I'm going to have to talk just a little bit more while it's uploading there. But basically, it's uploading the shape file. As soon as that happens, it's going to turn it into a service. And the reason that that's important is that once I have a service created up there, it's no longer just a file. I can add this to my web maps. And then my web maps can then become applications, or I can share them out, and we'll talk about the different ways to do that. So now it's publishing the service, and I'm going to go to the item details while it's doing that. So super simple. Now, a couple of other things to point out in here while it's creating that service. You definitely want to, when you upload things, go into the edit and add information about it. You see there's no information here whatsoever about description, access and use constraints, all those things. You want to be able to do that. So now it's taken my shape file and created a nice layer that I can use within web maps. This is also a layer now that I can share out across my organization, and of course along came all the attributes along with it. So now I've got a feature service that I can use. All right, that's pretty cool. That's kind of one place you might want to start when you're setting up these organizations and starting to put in content in there that you've already got. What are people across the organization wanting to use? So what's another one? Well, I might have services on my ArcGIS server. So let me just pop over to a text file here and grab the URL to a service that I've got. And again, I'm going to go into my content, and just like before, so you see there's my shapefile, but this time I'm going to add not something from my computer, but something from the web. And it's an ArcGIS server service, and if it's still there this morning, I'll put that in there. And what this is congressional districts. And again, putting in some good tags. I know you can, in a demo, you can cut that short, but don't. Tags are really important to what you do. So now this one adds, of course, right away because it's just a service that's sitting out there. So now I've got my congressional districts. And I can open that up. I'm going to open that on the map. And if all went well and the server is out there, I'll see my congressional districts appear on the map. Well, they didn't, so you know what? Let's add a different one. So here's another service that I've got out there, and I'll just do the same thing. Being prepared for the demo, right? So I'm going to do it again from the web, and I've got a different service. And this one's a really cool service. It's live feeds. This is a pretty neat service, and we'll add that. Then as soon as I've added that, I'll take a look at it on my map. Now, I don't see anything because I don't have any of those layers from that service turned on, so I'm going to quickly do that. Here's a GeoRSS feed that's part of that. You can see that information. Weather watches and warnings, I can turn those on. I can start to see that I really easily added a service right from one of my ArcGIS servers, and I can use that later on. So these are, so far we've talked about pretty much Esri formats for things, but ArcGIS Online is really open, can add other things. And just, for example, I know we added WMTS in the last release, but we can also add things that are out there like a WMS service. So I'm just going to search for one across ArcGIS Online and see what I find, just to show you that it's really easy to add additional services to that. So if I find one, I don't know, just pick one here. Here's transportation layer. So I can add this to my map, and you can see there's a WMS service out there, and I can save that, and I can use that, register that in my organization. So I did a couple of things here. I took something from my desktop, I took something from a server, and I took something from ArcGIS Online. I can make those all part of what I make available to my organization. So let me switch gears just a little bit. Where else would content come in your organization, right? Lots of people have spreadsheets just full of data that has some kind of locational content. So another place I might add content from is using Esri Maps for Office and allow people who are part of my organization with spreadsheets just full of data to be able to contribute those to the organization and start using the organization's data plus their data to start making maps. So earlier in my demo, I uploaded a shapefile that was counties in Indiana. Pretty simple shapefile. It's up there now. Everybody can use it. What I want to do next is take some information that I might have about those counties in Indiana and overlay that information and show you how you can work back and forth with something that came from a from a shapefile, but also with a spreadsheet, and be able to create some maps and share them out across ArcGIS Online. This is a little bit more complicated, but it is super powerful to be able to take this data that's available on everybody's desktops and across the organization, and to be able to share that out and start to create maps with it. So the first thing I've already done is I've added the add-in for Esri Maps for Office, and that added this additional tab here that you see. Once that's added, what I now do is just sign in. And it's the same organization user account that we created earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in. So now, as an Excel user, I'm connected to my organization and I have access to the content that's there. But I want to somehow contribute this spreadsheet of information that I've got with the rest of my organization, because this is a tabular file. It's got some cool things that Excel always has, right? You can filter the data. I could turn off 2010 data and just see 2011 data, or I could do things like that. So Excel has that powerful capability. But let's combine that and take a look at how we could use that with a map. So real simple. I'm just going to, just like I would with a chart that I would add, is I'm going to insert a map. It's going to show up in my spreadsheet. So you can see I've now got a map just like I would have with a chart. And I can do some cool things, like I can change the base map. So let's go ahead and change the base map. We'll change that to imagery because I think that's what I want to do. And I'm going to be working in Indiana. So let's go ahead and just zoom in here and see what happens. So now I've got a map that I brought up within Excel, just like a chart, and it's live because it's using it from ArcGIS Online. So I've got my connection to my organization now. But let's add data to this now. Let's add the Excel data. So you know what? I have, it's going to try to guess at how I want to do this, but I really want to create a join, if you will, with the shape file that I put up there of counties. I want to do that very specifically. So I'm going to add a custom location type for something that's already there in my organization. And I can't remember what I called it. What did I call it? Let's look. Let's look. Just look at my content. INC. Okay. There we go. There's the feature service that I added before. So I'm going to select that. Only selecting it here because I want to join my content with that. I could have done it with all the other attributes that are there already. I could have done it by city and state and things like that, but I want to go ahead and use this information that's there. And I know the field I want to join on is name. And I'll just give it, I'll add that and use that. So then I can just select that to be used with my spreadsheet. And now it's going to say, okay, what does that join with in my spreadsheet? And I know it's the county field. You can see it over here is the county's name. So I'm going to select that and add my data to the map. So now it's doing the join between my spreadsheet and the feature service that I created online. And as soon as it does that, it'll process that and it'll create the map, and I'll start to see, you can see those points on the map. A little hard to see, so let's change the base map. Let's make it a light gray. Things show up very well on that. So you can see that was pretty cool. I put my data on there. But now I can combine the two. I can combine the use of Excel with what I've got on ArcGIS Online. So let's do some things like just some simple styling of that. Let's style it. Let's do it some natural breaks. And let's pick some colors since this is money. We'll talk about green being large and red being small. And we'll add that to the map. That's pretty cool. That's pretty powerful. But I can even go further with this. Remember, I had these filters. So I can add my data for, say, 2010. I can add that. It's going to reprocess that information, add that data to my map too. From there, I can start to share it with the organization. So I've certainly got a cool spreadsheet with a cool map that used that information that I've got from the rest of my organization through that feature service. But I can now share that map out. So let's share that. Let's share this map. And we'll give it some tags. I know it's fun to watch somebody type tags, but And then we can decide, like I was talking about earlier, how we share that. And I'll share that with everyone in case you want to take a look at it later. We go ahead and share that map out. So it's doing a couple things now, right? So I created this map in Excel, but it's actually creating a feature service of that content that was in there so that it can be used. So it's taking taking the feature service that was there, the one that I just created, creating that new feature service, and it's also creating a web map. So it's doing all that. So just think about the capabilities that gives you then. You know, you can filter data. I can go up, you can do some really cool things with this, like update the data in Excel and automatically push the map up there. So people who don't, in the organization, who have really important content can contribute content in. So which is kind of the topic where we are, is where does content come from my organization? Shapefiles, services that are already there, things you find on ArcGIS Online, spreadsheets and data that people have on their PCs and can contribute to this. So you can start to get an idea of just how valuable this all becomes once you put it up there. So now that that's there, let's shift over. Let me refresh this, and you'll see see my map. We'll just jump to the map and open it up quick. Here's my web map.
2 questions. You want to take questions?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Basically, now we published the service. Did it take a snapshot basically with the Excel file, or is it still holding the same pointer to the Excel file?
Okay, yeah. So great question. So the question was, when I created that, essentially created a feature service and moved it up there, did it take a snapshot of the Excel file? Where is the data now? The data is now in 2 places. It's in my Excel file, but it's also in a feature service that's up there. So if you change the data in your Excel file, you want to update the feature service that was there. It's actually very easy to do.
No question. One more.
So if I change this, this filter, I would just go up here and say update my shared layer. So it's pretty easy to do. And you can see, take one more question, but here's my map now in ArcGIS Online. What came through, all the attribute information about that. So I've got some cool maps to be able to work with. Question over here.
How about when you create a map, can you create different layers show at different times when you zoom
Map extent.
Oh yeah. So this is this is a web map, right? So once it's here, it's not static at all.
Yeah, but you still see it. I mean, sometimes when you zoom out, certain layers pop in and pop out.
Yeah. So that's actually something you control. So what he's asking is set the visibility range. So I can actually control that in the web map. I can set the visibility range as to when something becomes visible or not, and I can control that in my map. Yep.
I got one more.
Sure.
Can we convert that to TPK?
Convert it to
Can we convert that to TPK file?
TPK.
So he wants to know if we can convert that to like a tile layer package?
Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. You can create a tile package from this. So if I wanted to do that, it's sort of kind of the next step in where you would go here in creating these. So let's say I have this feature service. There's just additional things that you can do. You can take a feature service that's on a web map and create a tile package from that, so that you have that. So there might be reasons that you would want to do that. Yep.
I would be interested in that.
Okay, I can show you. How about if I show you afterwards? We'll make sure and cover
We're gonna keep going.
a ton of stuff here.
Because I'm talking about the one online. That map you had online.
Okay. So now that we've done 2 things. We've set up a really simple organization. We've added a bunch of content to it. So the next step in all this is, let's assume we've added a whole bunch of users to this as well, but we want to be able to create some web maps. So we've added our services and data, and we want to start to create web maps so that across all those clients, we can start to share out interesting and really useful information products. We can put things on desktops and tablets. The cool part about the web map and the way that this works is that if these features change in these services, the web map automatically changes, and this web map can then be used across any of these clients in the ArcGIS system. So if you create a web map, you can show it on an iPad. Use the native application. There isn't anything that you need to do for that. You create a web map, you can build an app around that. So how do you create these things that are there? I showed you some simple ways, but you can create layers for a web map in a couple of different places. In desktop, you can go and create that layer in the viewer. So for example, I could go to the viewer, I could drag and drop a spreadsheet right on top of it, create a layer that other people can use. And I gave you an example of 2 other places. I can grab a service from a server, and I can grab a shapefile, and I could do the same thing from Excel. So there's a lot of different options in creating those. How do you put those layers together? You use the ArcGIS.com viewer, or you can do that inside of Excel for Office and be able to put those together there. There's a couple of different ways to be doing that. So now that we've got the stuff there, let's let Dave create a couple of web maps from that.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Moving right along, as you can see now in our gallery, we have content that's coming in the system here. So there's the congressional districts maps that we added earlier, and there's the map that Paul created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this congressional districts map since it's already in the gallery, or I could search it if I wanted to, but let me just go ahead and open this one up here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to add more content to this map. So right here I have, let's see, let me just minimize here. I want to do a simple drag and drop of some crime data here. Hold on, let's get this. Move here. There we go. So it detects location information. So if I had latitude, longitude fields, but what I want to do is I just want to map it by city, hit add layer to the map. Okay, so now what you could do is you could drag and drop information. You saw it coming from Excel, but also you saw, now you see information coming directly from a CSV file. You can have this live on the map, or you can also do a drag and drop too to create a feature service as well. Now that I have this information on the map, what I want to do now is I want to make this information more useful. So I'm going to change the space map here to light gray canvas. I'm going to configure the pop-up. Just from a design perspective, I want certain information to appear to the user. Now, since I'm going to be adding a chart to this, I'm going to head and, let's see, deselect some fields that I don't need. So let's see, I'll take population. I won't need any of these here, because what we're going to do is we're going to build a chart into this to provide some meaningful information to the user once they click on the pop-up. Okay. So let's just deselect these. And we don't need that. Maybe we'll just keep total crimes on here.
So just one point about what he's doing here. It's, we're demonstrating kind of functionally how you would do something. When you set these up or you work with your customers and their organization, you want to kind of start with what the information product is. Like, what is it that you want to provide that end user? So what Dave's doing here is he's configuring a pop-up so that someone can very smartly interact with the data that's there.
Great, thanks. And what's great about these pop-ups, they become inherited. So let's say you take one of our APIs and you call a web feature service layer and you call for the pop-ups. Those pop-ups will appear in your map. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add a chart for here. So I'm going to look at crime types here, just building right along. Okay, type. And then basically I'm going to, let's go here, let's get rid of this. Here. Hit OK. Let's save pop-up. So now what we've done is we've added a chart to this pop-up with relevant information. So now I chart my crime types here. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to look at the size based upon the total crimes. So this data has a total crimes. So what I can do is let me change the symbology on this. Here, instead of a unique one symbol, let's go to a size. Let's select equal innovation. And let's change the symbol based upon, let's give it a 24 to 50 so my data really shows here. And then you can change the symbology if I wanted to go, for example, blue, for example, here. That changes that. So let's just do 24 here. Apply. All right, that one didn't do it. Hold on, let's change here. This. Did that? Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't select the field. So let me cancel out of here. I got to change to total crimes here. That should work now. There we go. Did I not apply? Here we go. There we go. Okay. So now you can see total crimes appears bigger in certain areas here with the same pop-up information here. So I'm building this web map to showcase certain information that I want to appear to my user from a user design. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to save this map. Now I'm saving it. Now what I want to do is now share it with everybody. So I'm just going to go here, click everyone. It's in the feature group, close, and save. Okay. So basically now you guys can view this map, but one thing I like to point out is you're just building this map from data that you're trying to tell a story with this map. So I've created, I have crime data coming from my local system. I have web content coming from the web, and then I'm just configuring the pop-ups. And one important thing I like to know is the pop-ups will become inherent across all of the ArcGIS stack. So if I pull up an iPhone application, pop-ups come up. WinPhone application, pop-ups come up. So if anything changes, it becomes changed on the web map. So moving, you on 4?
Yep, 2.
2? 2. All right. Okay. So now I'd like to talk about sharing. So how can maps be shared? Well, you can create groups, which we did. So if you want information to strictly to a group, you can do that. You can add people, they can request to join. Another one is, it could be publicly. So as I share that map, that's public information now. Another one is, it's to and from organization, or you could choose not to share information. Let's say you're building an application that you're selling with ArcGIS Online. Well, it could be shared just amongst you, and then you require token authentication to that app. That's another option. And then more importantly, these maps can be shared across many different devices. So as we saw earlier, these groups are public, they're private. You decide those permissions, and then within that we have certain things of if you have content, for example, I've created these galleries with information that I want to show up when people see those maps or that data as part of that feature gallery when people come to my subscription. But there's some content that I don't want to appear in that gallery. I could just choose to share it with myself or a specific group. So as we were showing, one big theme of our stuff is building these things called web maps. These are layers coming from different services. It could be your own ArcGIS server. It could be ArcGIS Online. It could be application data coming from your client. And basically we create a web map so these could be shared across different devices. So device becomes ubiquitous now, right? So I can pull up a web map on an iPhone. I can pull up on Android. It's the same information being presented. I'll get your question after this. Okay, so now that you saw we created a web map, what if you say, well, the web map, I need to maybe create a more custom look and feel. What are some of the things that are available at my disposal? So ArcGIS.com, the viewer, it's non-extendable. What you get is pretty much is what you see in there. You can add content, you can configure pop-ups, but what if you want to have some kind of branding thing where you want an application? Well, what we have is we have templates published on ArcGIS Online that you can download and customize those templates to get a good look and feel. And what it basically does is it pulls all that information over to your application template, and you can download that source code and modify it. Or you could also use one of our APIs that we have available, WinPhone, Android, iOS, to the runtime stuff. And then another thing is you can also embed maps. So what we're seeing with customers is maybe they have, a city site landing page or a company site landing page. What you can do is once you publish that map and share it, you can embed that in an iframe. And then what it could do is it can load up in your web page, for example. And that's all built into the system. You just simply copy the code, give it the pixel height and dimensions, and then just insert it.
So let's take a look at some of the stuff that Dave was just talking about. First of all, we'll talk about groups. And I want to show you how to create a group. So we're going to go into create a group, and let's take a look at some of the options that are available when you go to create a group. Obviously, you would give it a name and summary. So think about what the group's going to be for. Is it a department within an organization? Is it people who are part of a project? How's this all going to work? Because you've got some really cool options for both managing that group and sharing that information out. So The basics, how is it shared? Is this a private group? So in other words, it's private, meaning you have to be invited into it and a search won't find it. People won't know about it because it's private. So there's good reasons for doing that. Is it a public group? Or is it a group that's just part of your organization? So you have those choices to be able to make. On the public groups, you can check whether people can find the group and say, hey, I want to be part of that group. I want to send you a note that says, hey, I'd like to join your group, and then you can add people to that. Or you can turn that off. You have to invite people. So it's two different ways of doing that. Now, one of the things we added in December that's really powerful is right here, this checkbox. When you have a group, before anybody could contribute in there, whether it had something to do with the reason that the group existed in the first place or otherwise. But now as a group owner, you have a choice whether people who are members can put things in there, or essentially you can create like a read-only group of maps and data for people. So it's a really powerful feature. And then you can also decide how that's sorted and how that looks. Let's skip this. Let's leave this page and go over to my content. And I want to access the map that David just built, the Congressional District's web map, because I want to show you some of the sharing options on this, just to demonstrate where they are. There's a tremendous amount of things that you can do with sharing information. Where do you find that? Right here. So you click on share. This is one of the ways where you can set how this is shared out there. So Dave's publicly shared this with everyone. So you guys can go and search and find this now and pick up on the map. You can decide which groups it's part of. But here's a couple of other powerful ways to share this out. You think about that diagram that we showed a couple times now with the web map in the middle and all the other things on the outside. Here are the things on the outside. So I could do something as simple as copy this link and send people out via email or something. Super simple. But let's say my organization wants to publicize on Facebook that, hey, there's new information available for my org. A couple different ways to do that. Facebook, Twitter, real easy to do. Just log in with your account and up comes a link for people to open the map. So it opens up that social media part of it. One of the most powerful pieces, actually these two buttons, are probably what you're going to end up doing with your web maps for others in your organization. You can create an application. There's application templates built right into ArcGIS Online that I can use out of the box to create apps and just share the link to that app. So essentially it takes my web app, pours it into an application template that I can then share with people. So why would you want to do that? You might not want to send people right to the viewer. Let's say there's an executive or a manager or somebody in the field who just needs to interact with data. Just have it. They don't need to be adding layers and creating web maps and things. They just need to interact and understand the data. This is a really good way to do that. Apps are hugely powerful for getting other people in the organization involved. Here's one of my favorite ones, this Simple Map Viewer. The Simple Map Viewer is actually a smart application that morphs itself based on the client that it's on. If it's on an iPhone, it looks a little different than it's on an iPad. So it's a smart one. It works that way. If it's on the desktop browser, it looks a little bit different than there. So it's really simple to choose these. Let me show you one of the other ways to share. And this is also extremely powerful. And that is to embed things in a website. So essentially what we're doing here is with that web map, here's the code that you would need to embed in your website to just put it in there. Let me show you what that looks like once that's done. This is a good one that was done by a TV station.
Can you show them the analysis stuff? I forgot that.
So when Obama's inauguration was going on, these guys created a number of different web maps to show road closure information. So you can see how easy this was. They just took that HTML code and embedded it into their map. Pretty cool, because not only is it embedded in their map, it's a live map, right? And it has information in it. Has the pop-ups all built into it. So the web map that I created can go in a number of different places. I can do just send people right to the web map and they can interact with it. I can build it into an application People can do it that way, or I can expose things out in my intranet or on the web here. And they've done a number of these, and you can see how valuable this is. There's a ton of embedded web maps out there on web pages. And then, of course, the value of that is that they're live and dynamic. And as the information changed, my website changed. I didn't need to make any changes to the code. It's just there. It just works. It's a super powerful capability of the system. So I'm not going to go through this list because I know we have a couple of questions and I want to get to them. But I'll simply point you to, if you go to ArcGIS.com, and up in the right-hand corner, there's a couple of things I'd like you to take a look at. First is go to the help, and within help, what's new. That'll show you item by item what we just added last Wednesday. And also, if you want to go back to a previous release, there's a whole list there. But it's not only just a list, there's a link to learn how to use it and how to do it. We spend a lot of time on the help and making sure that it's very, very friendly and able to use. The other thing that's on ArcGIS.com is the blog. And we just posted a number of blogs about all the new features and what you can do with those, and more practical examples of how would I do this. That also gives you the opportunity to ask the team questions. So of course the team monitors our forums and the blog, but people are tuned in and hopefully answering lots of questions that you've got about that. So at this point, we got about 10 minutes. I would just open it up to whatever questions you guys have at this point. I know was there one over here somewhere?
Right here. Yeah.
Right here.
Question is the frequency of map updates and I know we saw North American and those maps.
Content.
Okay, yeah, so that's an excellent question. So one of the things that's really valuable about ArcGIS Online is that there's already maps there that you can use. And there's different base maps there of street networks, imagery, and the question is, how often is that updated? It's updated continually. Basically, it will happen at every single release, but there's also happening in between releases, and there's no one answer across the board, across the world. Some areas update faster than others, and we usually include all that information as part of the release notes, but yeah, it's a continual thing. It's not like it's an annual thing. We do it several times a year, and they're usually pretty large updates. Like, for example, all the imagery. If you were in the plenary session yesterday, Dean Kensock put up on the screen all the imagery we've added. So that will be a continuous process that you'll see. Basically, every time it gets broader in terms of where we cover it, and every time it gets deeper. And as it gets deeper, we get into the more fine resolutions on some of the imagery. So it's all the time. Question back here?
As a developer, are there any resources for us to sandbox any of these things? Or is that just going to be, if I'm trying to develop something to figure out what I can have a client do, am I going to be doing that on my free account? Or is there a way for us to play around with the options?
Developers, that's a good one.
Awesome question. So the question is, as a developer, am I going to have to buy one of these accounts and use my resources to develop against it? One of the things we're working on for June is a special developers account within ArcGIS.com. And that's coming. Look for details around there, but I think it'll absolutely answer exactly what you want to do. There'll be enough credits in there to be able to work on things before you actually put something out there as a developer. In the meantime, we spend a lot of time on developers.arcgis.com, putting sample code in there, sample applications, hopefully organizing things a little bit better to make sure those resources that you're going to need to develop are all there. So definitely check that out. Right next to you.
Two quick questions. When you have that Excel file, you drop that map object in and you do your join, is that map object now available to be shared through Excel services?
Yes, so really good question. So the question is, once I put that out there as part of my organization, how is that available? And he was specifically asking about SharePoint. But once that's in the organization, it can really be used by any of the clients across the entire ArcGIS platform. So it becomes a feature service that's available to everything. So the neat part is kind of where it came from, but once it gets there as either a layer or a web map, it can then be used across the board. Good question, thanks.
The other part of that was when you created when you were having ArcGIS server web service in Am I able to get a token or how does that work?
Yep, there's two ways to do that. So you can build the token in when you share it to somebody. So there's a way to do that, and probably a little bit deeper than an introductory thing, but the doc is excellent on that. And yes, so essentially, if you've got an ArcGIS server with a service that needs a username and password for it, does it support that? Yes. So one thing you could do is when the layer popped up, you'd ask for credentials. That's one way. The other way is to actually build in the username and password into the service and then use the sharing model as to how you allow people to use that.
Yeah, we have an identity manager services that you could pull into it. All the APIs have that. That does that just for you.
Back here.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, scenario where I have a custom widget, we'll say a JavaScript widget. Is there a capacity to, is ArcGIS Online itself be able to upload a tool, have a tool that a client or clients could use, or do you build a template and then make the template available, make that tool available to the template? How is there a model for that?
So the question is that he has a widget, essentially some application functionality available. Is there a way to add that on top of what's in ArcGIS Online, like the viewer that's there? Add that on top of that, for example? No, the viewer itself isn't extensible, but all those templates are something that you would want to work with. Right. So I didn't show it, but you could download the code for each one of those templates. In fact, that's probably what most organizations do. Right. Is they download those, host those, and put their own logos and look and feel, and as well as functionality on top of that. And then, you know, as business partners or developers, you can go sell that.
Yeah, sorry, just to piggyback on that. As far as templates, publishing a template, can we as developers publish our own template, or are we limited to templates that are already provided for us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to an organization, you can add templates to that, yes. So you, one of the things that Dave did at the beginning was he set up a group that defined what templates are shown to the organization. Not every organization wants to show all, I don't even know how many are in there anymore. Then maybe we want to show 3 that people can make maps of. So you can customize a group with templates in it and use that group then to populate what shows up when somebody goes and looks for the app templates. Yep. You're welcome.
Right here.
Sure.
Can you explain the credits in a little bit more detail? Just how it works?
I can. So there's the business model for ArcGIS Online is about 2 things. It's about a user, a named user, and then there's credits. The question is, what are credits? So what we've created with Online is the capability to use what you want and only pay for what you use. So you might want to do, your organization or a customer of yours might want to do a lot of geocoding versus another customer who wants to do a lot of making map tiles. Credits allow us to just say, you get this many credits, use whatever services that you want based on those. Now, different services consume different numbers of credits, and I won't go into that. It's all on the product page on arcgis.com, or Esri, sorry. And you can see what types of services use what types of credits and how many. One of the things you can see in an organization as well is how many credits your organization is using. The other thing to check out on the product pages in Esri is there's really good detailed examples, use cases. Okay, my organization looks like this, we did this, how many credits did it use? And there's also a credit estimator there where you can put in the size of the organization, typical things that the org does, and how many credits that would use. So at this point, I think, can you stick around for a couple of other questions?
Yeah.
Dave can stick around for a couple of other questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Want to come on up? Do you have questions?